Hello everyone. So now we will be talking about complementary feeding. Okay. So far we spoke about breastfeeding and breastfeeding issues and nipple conditions and breast conditions. Now baby is say 6 months complete. So now we will talk about complementary feeding. My experience is that of course I work in all different parts of India. Urban slums, rural areas, tribal areas. I also work in US. So I have experience of not just developing world but also developed world, and a complementary feeding stage is one of the most difficult stage. Okay. I do see of course breastfeeding issues we have tackled with this 45 points at cross cradle hold. In fact, Gujarat state has taken up 45 points at cross cradle hold in each and every district, 33 districts, all of them are trained on that. Complementary feeding is the issue. Okay. There are a lot of myths, a lot of this cultural biases. India, the number of children or percent of children who are getting minimum adequate diet from 6 months to for younger children 23 months is only 11%. Okay. So, NFHS 5 data has come out. In last data 5 years ago it was only 9% children were getting, now it is almost 11 to 12%. So, still we have very poor complementary feeding in our young children. Okay. So, please do understand this session very well. Do try to implement in your own homes if you have young children, and if you do not, then just kind of find out in your family, extended family, if mothers have young children. Do find out what they are eating, whether it is adequate, whether frequency is good enough, what food groups they are getting, and whether dietary diversity is important. So, please do learn about that. Okay. So, now what issue we found? So, I will talk about my experience a little bit before we go into complementary feeding tutorials. Main thing is most of the mothers, they were not starting complementary feeding on time. Okay. This was actually true in tribal areas and some of the rural areas also. They are afraid that baby will choke, or my milk is enough, baby is growing okay, they would have lot more other kind of concern. So, many tribal areas they start complementary feeding at 1 year of age. In fact, in urban slums I had an opposite kind of experience. They would start complementary feeding by 4 months of age. So, what they would start with, they would start with Marie biscuit, okay, which is kind of soaked in cow's milk, and they would feed the child that Marie biscuit, which is nothing but sugar and all purpose flour, your white flour. Then they would start with lot of other kind of biscuits, they just did not understand the concept of exclusive breastfeeding. And I am sure they wanted to start complementary feeding because probably they realized that babies are not growing well and they were concerned. So, I can understand that concern also. So, obviously work on a good latch and 45 points, so that babies they gain good weight and families do not feel the need to start complementary feeding early on. Okay, because we do see this issue not only in poor children but also in kind of educated families and elite mothers, educated mothers, they also have this concern of whether baby will like it, whether baby will eat or not. So, in this tutorial, this coming 2 tutorials on complementary feeding guideline and on complementary food, we have discussed how to start complementary feeding at the end of 6 months. So, once you complete your 180 days, that is when you are at the beginning of 7 months, that is when you start. A lot of time when you say 6 months, mothers feel that as soon as child completes 5th month and at 6 months started and they start complementary feeding. So, it is not beginning of 6 months, it is the end of 6 months. Okay. One more thing we also experience, that all these babies, they were gaining good amount of weight on cross cradle hold, there was no doubt. They were almost 9 kg, 8 kg, some of them were 10 kgs at 6 months of age, but at complementary feeding stage, a few years ago they were not gaining weight. It would recommend, give this vegetable, give this fruit, give this rice, this khichdi and put this, that, but unfortunately it was not helping much. What we realize, and this is, I really thank one of my dear friend, he asked me to kind of join one consensus statement where I heard Dr. Michael Golden, though he was talking about the pathophysiology and biochemistry in children who were severely acutely malnourished. So, SAM children, we were writing a guideline for management of SAM for Indian Academy of Pediatrics, and this Dr. Michael Golden, he is the guru of malnutrition, and he spoke about what are these nutrients which are lacking in malnourished children, and he spoke about how if we can include those nutrients in the food, and if we give this food to malnourished children, they would just basically not only have increased muscle mass, but they would also kind of grow in height. So, when I was thinking about that, when I was understanding his concept of type 1 and type 2 nutrients, where he discussed about how type 2 nutrients are kind of growth promoting nutrients, which I have discussed in our first and second sessions on type 1 type 2 nutrient, and also how type 1 nutrients are more for specific metabolic functions like anemia or say rickets or any of those specific functions. He's focused a lot on type 2 nutrient, okay, and he said that if you give food which is high in type 2, which is your high in protein, your good essential fatty acids in omega 3 and omega 6 in good ratio, then also magnesium, potassium, chloride, sodium, zinc, sulfur. So, he discussed a lot about those nutrients, and it just stuck to my mind. I said that if malnourished children can grow so so well on this kind of food which is high in type 2 nutrient, then why not children who are stuck, who are like for 2-3 months they have not gained weight at all. And I kind of came back in my clinic and I spoke to our nutritionist at Dipali Fargade, and I said, Dipali, we need to include this food which will improve children's weight, okay, because children are growing leaps and bounds when they are young. So, I did not want them to stagnate for a long time, because then the height would suffer, right. So, and then we also knew that the children had very small appetite. So, again I told her, I said I want some kind of homemade recipes which will not fill up baby stomach, because it is very small, like a 9-month-old hardly has 200 ml capacity, where you can't feed 200 ml, just maybe 100 to 150 ml, So, then I said, why you come up with something where I want magnesium in that food, natural food, I want potassium in that food, I want protein of protein, I want all these nutrients which are nutrient dense food in powder form, which you can just add in children's food. So, they will get all this nutrient from the diet. And lo behold, I had all these demands, and she came up with some recipes. It took us some time to figure out, but what she did, she basically took some peanuts, some seeds like sesame seeds and other like pumpkin seeds and lot of other seeds which are available in the market. Then what she did is she made sprouts and dried those sprouts and then made powder from the sprouts, so it is also called malted flours, and then she used all these different like curry leaf powder she made kind of moringa powders, moringa leaves or your drumstick leaves, which are very very healthy, and then she created all this kind of micronutrient dense powders, and then we said that okay, let us try in children's recipes, and when suppose mother would make a khichdi, so she would say have rice and dal, but we said now you also, while you cooking a khichdi, you add 1 or 2 powders in this and then try to feed the baby. And as soon as we started these powders, we again started seeing amazing weight gain in these children. Now this issue we found more in children who are vegetarian, okay, because of course vegetarian children, they do not get enough protein from their diet, okay. Believe me, they do not get good quality protein. Mothers are not mothers are skeptical to start paneer or dahi or curd and any of those products. They get predominantly dal and rice, very monotonous diet they get. We have lot of studies which are already there in the magazines and all your journals, and children they get hardly 2 or 3 kind of food groups. So again for non-veg children, when they were eating eggs, when they were eating meats, when they were eating say bone broth and all those kind of non-veg food, we were not seeing lot of deficiency in those children, because those non-veg food is nutrient dense, okay. So when even if they eat little bit, they get all kind of nutrients. They get kind of vitamin A, retinol, they get vitamin B12, they get choline, they get all these nutrients, except one nutrient which they lack if they eating predominantly non-veg food is magnesium. But then we told them how to add magnesium rich food, which is your nuts and seeds, and also some of the beans are very high in magnesium, right. So once we understood this type 1 type 2 nutrients, we kind of became more like pharmacists, but food pharmacist, not the pharmacist which gives you medicine. We would tell them, okay, looks like you are not eating good food which is high in zinc, ye khana dalo. So zinc, which would be like high in some of this again rajma has good amount of zinc, and some of those other foods are high in zinc. So we said, okay, now give child more rajma, or give rajma is your kidney beans, or give food which is like cashew. So people like lot of tribals, they have cashew trees. So for example one of the tribal area that we work in, Dharampur, in Gujarat, every tribal has a cashew tree. So we said, do not just give cashews, do not sell it, keep some cashews and make a powder and put in children's food, and amazing weight gain that we saw, not only weight gain but height gain or length gain also, okay. So here again I have also shown what are those powder recipes that our nutritionist had created. Do use those recipes in children's diet. Mothers can use it in her diet. She can just eat, she does not have to make powder, but these powders are nutrient dense, okay. So you just use little bit and it will be a lot of increase in nutrient density, okay. Nutrient density is just basically the amount of nutrients that they will get from that amount of food, okay. And also another thing we also recommend that if parents are okay, definitely start with non-veg food first, okay. Especially eggs, meat, chicken, fish is really good, very high in omega 3, omega 6, omega 3 actually, not omega 6 so much of course, but do focus on starting with non-veg food. If parents are vegetarian, that is fine. Start with protein rich food, like for example your beans, sprout them, very important, cook them, do not give them raw, that is again very critical. And give more millets, do not give too much of grain, avoid rice, avoid wheat, those are nothing but carbohydrates, give them much more millets, your jawar, bajra, ragi, they are high in minerals, they are high in protein also, high in fiber also, and also give them dahi, so more of dairy products. Do not give them milk because baby is getting mother's milk, so do not give outside milk, no cow milk, but you can give dairy, dairy product, which is your dahi, your yogurt, curd, your paneer. You can also, if mother can afford, cheese is given too, no problem. So give those high protein rich foods. Vegetables are good, some of the vegetables are high in protein. So your cauliflower has good amount of protein, your spinach is good amount of protein, if you look at the protein energy ratio. Also start vegetables after the protein rich food group, okay. So start with protein group first, then start with vegetables, and then fruit should come last. Now what I see in the field, especially with the educated mothers, they are so fascinated by fruits. they feel that if I give fruits, baby will be healthy. It's not that I am against fruit, but issues that I see in the field is babies who are started with fruits first, or mothers who kind of mix fruit in all the different foods that they give. So, they put apple puree in khichdi, they put some kind of puree, banana puree in some other food. Those are the babies, they do have sweet taste, and once they start liking sweet taste, it is very difficult for them to like other vegetables and other foods. Okay. So, I do not recommend starting fruits first, you start fruits last as a last group. So, maybe by 7th or 8th month you can start fruits. Do not mix with any other food groups, give fruits more as a dessert, just maybe one or half a fruit in a day after the meal. Okay. Do not give fruit by itself, it is very high in fructose, and it is natural, but still it is fructose. Okay. So, give it more in a dessert form and it separately. Okay. And it is not necessary to kind of give fruits with every meal, do not mix it with any other food groups. Okay. So, again enjoy your complementary feeding video. After 2 years of age, of course, when you start you can continue breast milk for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but if you are starting cow milk, do not give cow milk first, give them breakfast first and then give cow milk after, once you stop breastfeeding after 2-3 years. That is important, because do not fill up their stomach with breast milk. Okay. And in situation where if mothers are not breastfeeding, or say mother has passed away, or there are any other issues, please do remember that you should kind of increase your number of solids that you are going to give it, So, number of times which I have shown in the video. So, do remember that we have to do that. Okay. And mother's milk is the best, continue mother's milk at least till 2 years of age, do not stop it. During daytime I recommend to give more food, after giving food then give breast milk. And night time you can continue breast milk, do not breastfeed first and then give food, because that will fill up the stomach, it is just a common sense. Okay. So, just give food first and then give breastfeed. Another thing I want you guys to understand about junk food. Mothers have this tendency to start a lot of this junk food when they are young. Please avoid that, because junk food will cause a lot of issues with growth. It will also cause issue with a lot of metabolic health. We do not want children to become diabetic or have, say, high triglyceride level or any of those fatty livers. Now, there was one very good data which just came out by Government of India. It is called CNNS data, and in that we found that children between 5 to 9 years of age, 30% children have high triglyceride level. Okay, that is a very high number, and you do not want children to have such high triglyceride, because that will cause kind of fatty liver, and it will cause eventual problems with blood pressure or diabetes or heart disease or any of those. Okay. So, all that basically, that foundation starts from conception to breastfeeding to complementary feeding, and what food you are kind of giving. Okay. So, all that will basically, it's basically part of the same, it's a journey. Okay. And that nowadays we see young adults getting heart attacks, young people getting diabetes, blood pressure, they have big belly, and this are all because of wrong foods. So, when you give wrong foods, what happens in young children, they do not grow in height, they become more like this way they grow, and if the wrong food is started, then young children, then eventually they continue to eat that wrong food and they put on a lot of weight, and then they have all these metabolic diseases. Now, one more thing I want to discuss about Indian children or Indian phenotype, that we have something called thrifty gene. That means that a lot of time many of us are very thin. We may not put on weight, we may not look fat like a lot of these Americans and Europeans, they look fat, they look obese. We have something where we have fat inside our body. We may not look fat from outside, but when you do MRI, when you do look at the visceral fat, we have lot more visceral fat, visceral means organ. So, we have lot more fat around our organs, and that will cause metabolic diseases much earlier on. early on. So do not think that, oh, my child is thin or I'm thin so nothing will happen to me. It's all about how much fat you have around your liver, around your pancreas, around your heart, and that will cause problems later on. Okay. So remember, healthy food, healthy life and healthy aging. Okay. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the spoken tutorial on general guidelines for complementary feeding. In this tutorial, we will learn about the importance of starting complementary food for 6-month-old babies. Complementary feeding guidelines for 6 to 24-month-old babies. Let us begin. A baby must be breastfed exclusively from the time of birth to 6 months of age. 6 months of age does not mean the start of the 6th month of a baby's life. She has completed 6 months and started the 7th month of her life. At this age, exclusive breastfeeding is not enough for a baby. Along with breast milk, nutritious home-cooked food must be given to the baby. This food is called complementary food. It must be given to a baby from 6 months to 24 months of age. It plays a crucial role in making the baby tall, healthy, and intelligent. It is important to start complementary feeding at 6 months of age. Otherwise, the baby's growth and development will be hindered. There are also chances that the baby might reject solid food at a later age. Remember, complementary food supports breastfeeding. Therefore, breastfeeding must be continued till at least 2 years of age. The type, consistency, and amount of complementary food varies with baby's age. There are specific recommendations for each group. They are discussed in detail in another tutorial in the same series. Now, let's discuss important guidelines for complementary feeding at all ages. Any new food must be first given separately to a baby. It should be combined with other foods later. This will help to assess if the baby is allergic to a particular food. Eating a variety of foods is essential for good nutrition. Every 4th day, add a new food to the baby's diet. Start with 1 tablespoon of the new food along with the previously given food. Gradually increase its amount every day. Nutrient-dense food from all 8 food groups must be added gradually. The first and most important food group is breastfeeding. It must be included every day along with other food groups. Grains, roots, and tubers are the second food group. Legumes, seeds, and nuts are the third group. Fourth group is milk products. Meat, fish, and chicken are the fifth group. Egg is the sixth group. Vitamin A rich fruits and vegetables are the seventh group. Lastly, the eighth group is other fruits and vegetables. Ideally, a baby's diet must include all 8 food groups. If a baby's diet has less than 5 of these groups, it is a severe problem. It must be corrected immediately. Some babies do not have access to breast milk at all. Include food from the remaining 7 groups every day in their diet. Also, give them 500 milliliters of animal milk and 2 extra servings of meals per day. Always boil the animal milk before feeding it to the baby. Now, let's discuss the order of adding new food groups to a baby's diet. Along with breast milk, start giving complementary food from the first 6 groups. Baby needs a higher quantity of nutrients after 6 months of age. However, the quantity of food that can be given in the initial days is small. Therefore, nutrient-dense food from the first 6 groups can be given. These foods are rich in nutrients such as protein and good fats. They are important for the development of the baby's height and muscle mass. Good fats are important for baby's brain development. After these foods, start giving vegetables and fruits. Vegetables and fruits are high in vitamins and minerals. However, they are not as dense in protein and fat as the first 6 groups. Therefore, they are started later to avoid weight stagnation or loss. Also, fruits are sweet to taste. It is important that babies try a variety of tastes before the sweet taste. Trying different tastes helps babies to accept more foods. This reduces the chance of them becoming a picky eater later. Hence, fruits are added to a baby's diet after adding all other types of food. Giving fresh, seasonal, local fruits once or twice a day is recommended. Fruit can be given as a dessert after a regular meal. Fruit puree should not be mixed with baby's regular meals. Fruit juice is not recommended for this age group. It includes both homemade and ready-made fruit juice. Remember, continue breastfeeding up to 2 years. Avoid giving hard foods that may cause a baby to choke. Whole nuts, grapes, chickpeas, and raw carrot pieces are examples of such foods. Freshly cooked homemade food prepared hygienically is the best for the baby. If baby food is to be stored, please watch our tutorial on safe storage. Safe preparation and serving of baby food is also discussed in the same tutorial. Please visit our website for more details. Along with food, boiled and cooled water can be given to a 6-month-old baby. Start with 30 to 60 milliliters of water twice a day. It should be increased in hot weather as per the baby's demand. Breast milk and water are the best drinks for a baby. However, they must be timed correctly. Do not breastfeed or give water to a baby before a meal. A hungry baby is more likely to try new foods. Baby can be breastfed or given water 20 to 30 minutes before or after a meal. Adequate complementary feeding is necessary for a baby to grow well. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for joining.
Welcome to the spoken tutorial on complementary food for 6 to 24-month-old babies. In this tutorial, we will learn about homemade, nutritious complementary food. We will discuss its amount, type, and frequency. Let us begin with complementary food for a 6-month-old baby. Remember, complementary food should be started after a baby completes 6 months. Baby's first meal should be a thick puree or paste made of only one food. Let's see some examples of foods which can be used for this meal. Whole beans like sprouted, cooked, and pureed chickpeas can be used. Grains such as sprouted, cooked, and pureed finger millet can also be chosen. Split pulses like soaked, cooked, and pureed split green gram beans can be used. Non-vegetarian foods like cooked and pureed egg, chicken, fish can also be used. Choose any one of them to make a thick paste. Here, sprouted, cooked, and pureed red kidney beans is chosen as the first food. If required, add a little breast milk to the food to make a paste. Use boiled and cooled water only if breast milk is not available. The consistency of puree or paste is extremely important. It must be thick enough to easily stay on the spoon even when tilted. Feed 1 tablespoon of the first food for the baby's first meal on the first day. Give another tablespoon of the first food for a second meal on the same day. Along with these 2 meals on the first day, breastfeed the baby adequately. Please note, the tablespoon used in this tutorial holds about 15 grams of food. On the second day, feed 2 tablespoons of the same food per meal. Give 2 such meals on that day along with breastfeeding. On the third day, feed 3 tablespoons of the same food in each meal. Give 2 such meals on that day along with breastfeeding. Fourth day is the day to start giving a second new food. Choose one new nutrient-dense food from any food group. Food groups are explained in another tutorial of the same series. Here, sprouted, cooked, and pureed finger millet is chosen as the second food. Make a thick paste of this food with breast milk or with boiled and cooled water. Start with 1 tablespoon of the second food paste per meal. Give it along with 3 tablespoons of the first food paste. A total of 4 tablespoons of food paste must be given in each meal. Give 2 such meals on the 4th day along with breastfeeding. On the 5th day, increase the amount of the second paste to 2 tablespoons per meal. Give it along with 2 tablespoons of the first food paste in each meal. Give 2 such meals on the 5th day along with breastfeeding. On the 6th day, increase the amount of the second paste to 3 tablespoons per meal. Give it along with 1 tablespoon of the first food paste in each meal. Give 2 such meals on the 6th day along with breastfeeding. On the 7th day, start giving a third new nutrient-dense food paste. In this picture, egg is chosen to make the third new food paste. Start with 1 tablespoon of the third food paste per meal. Give it along with 3 tablespoons of the first and second food paste. A total of 4 tablespoons of food paste must be given in each meal. Give 2 such meals on the 7th day along with breastfeeding. Gradually increase the amount of the third food paste to 3 tablespoons per meal. Always give it along with all the previously given paste. Feed a total of 4 tablespoons of food paste in each meal. Give 2 such meals a day to a 6-month-old baby along with breastfeeding. Similarly, give a 4th new nutrient-dense food paste on the 10th day. In this picture, fish is used to make the 4th new food paste. Then, give a 5th new food on the 13th day and so on. Keep adding a new food every 4th day. Continue until the baby eats a wide variety of foods from all food groups. After starting new cereals and pulses, always combine them in a baby's meals. Give such combinations as soon as possible after 6 months of age. They will provide complete protein to a baby. Use various techniques that increase the absorption of nutrients from food. Some examples are roasting, soaking, germinating, fermenting, and cooking. These techniques are discussed in detail in other tutorials of the same series. Freshly cooked homemade food prepared hygienically is the best for the baby. If baby food is to be stored, please follow the recommended safety guidelines. Safe preparation and storage of baby food is explained in another tutorial. Safe serving of baby food is also discussed in the same tutorial. Please visit our website for more details. Now, let's discuss complementary feeding for a 7-month-old baby. At this age, gradually increase the quantity of food to half cup per meal. Also increase the number of meals to 3 per day along with breastfeeding. Please note, the cup used in this tutorial has a capacity of 250 milliliters. At this age, the consistency of the food must be changed. The food given to a 7-month-old baby should be mashed or lumpy. An example of such food is jackfruit seeds porridge. When the baby is 8 months old, increase the number of meals to 4 per day. Continue giving half cup of food per meal. Continue breastfeeding. At this age, stop giving food purees and paste to the baby. Start giving soft, chunky, nutritious food. An example of such food is sprouted and cooked chickpeas. When the baby is 9 to 11 months old, start giving soft finger foods. Finger foods are foods meant to be eaten directly with hands. Boiled egg and cooked vegetable pieces are examples of such foods. At this age, increase the number of meals to 5 per day. Continue giving half cup of food in each meal. Continue breastfeeding. After completing 12 months, a baby can start eating a part of the family meals. At this age, increase the amount of food to 1 cup per meal. Continue giving 5 meals a day along with breastfeeding. 5 meals a day can also be given as 3 main meals and 2 snacks. For a snack, 1 cup of nutritious food should be given. Fruit, curd, cooked cottage cheese, and cooked vegetables are examples of snacks. Add nutritious nuts, seeds, and leaf powders to these snacks while cooking. Nutritious powder recipes are discussed in another tutorial of the same series. Remember, continue breastfeeding at least till 2 years. Also, do not add salt to the food prepared for the baby. Before completing 2 years of age, do not give any type of sugar to the baby. It includes jaggery, honey, and fruit juices. Also, do not give tea, coffee, packaged food or drinks, and any outside food. These were specific complementary feeding guidelines as per baby's age. There are many more important feeding guidelines for babies of all ages. They are discussed in detail in another tutorial in the same series. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. Thank you for joining.